What's up, Army? Welcome back to Redemption 46 Studios. I'm Nick.
And I'm Curtis.
Y'all know the vibes. Y'all seen the picture. Y'all seen the thumbnails. Y'all know why y'all here. August D, Max, Burn It. Exclusive joint from D2. Was going to save this probably until like March, obviously, because his birthday was around. But I figured we just did the Stachita joint, so I figured, why not give YouTube a treat? Do this content just because last time we did Max featuring Sugar. So this time we have an opportunity to do August D featuring Max. I honestly forget, and it's super early in the morning, y'all, how much stuff we did off D2. I don't think it was a lot. Yeah. Just know when March rolls around, just all those August D projects in general will be handled with a lot of care. And I'm going to just kind of leave it at that. But yeah, I'm assuming Suge produced and did everything all for this with Max writing. I know they have a close relationship. I know his wedding vows or something was like something from one of the songs and stuff that Suge wrote or something like that. So I know their relationship is pretty tight. But yeah, man, if this is your first time on the channel, make sure y'all burn up that subscribe button. Become a real redeemer today. It's also, if you love content like this, please jump over to the Patreon and support. Literally everything is on there. Like I said, the Stachita episode 1 is on there. If you guys love it, we'll be doing episode 2 and episode 3. Also, we had some exclusive Hybe stuff in general that just dropped on there. Exclusive choreo battles up on there. RM and Soul Live is up on there. Mama 2020 for BTS is up on there, and just a whole bunch of other content. So no long talk, we can jump in and burn it and have a conversation when we are done.
Let's see what we got. D2, right?
Yeah. Beat already got
so
here.
I was gonna say, add that little church bell.
Got here. The beat already kind of sound a little.
I love the suspense.
I see the ashes falling out your window.
Fire. This God's here.
Ooh. That's a bar.
So burn it till it's all gone. Yeah, burn it. Yeah, burn it. I want it. Yeah, burn it.
He uses that in an outro tier.
Yeah, burn it.
He uses that in outro tier.
돌아가보자고 지난 날 나를 파괴하던 시간과 시계 증오하고 열등감 하늘에게 사로잡힌 삶 성공을 맛보는 지난 날 그때와는 뭐가 다른가 글쎄 크게 다뤄지는 나 태워버리자고 지난 날
Even his first love piano drum, or the fire version of him or whatever. Or no, I'm thinking of Fire MC.
I don't know 나 태우고 나는 너 제만 남을지도 모르지 아님 그대로일지 I see the ashes falling out your window.
I love his voice.
Someone in the mirror that you don't know. And everything was all wrong.
I get it. So burn it till it's all gone. Burn it.
Oh my god, that beat. Bro, this makes outro tier hit so hard.
가장 깊은 곳에 너를 마주하지 그것도 얼마나 들여 허망한지 어쩌면 그것들은 마저 신기루 어쩌면 그래 그것들을 배움으로 열정을 강요받는 것은 아닌지 조심이란 단어를 조심하길 바래 Don't be afraid 불을 붙여봐 뭐가 됐든 그래 말이야 불을 붙여봐 과거에 넌 현재에 넌 뭐든 좋으니까 쉽게 그래 불을 붙여봐 타오르는 태양이 될런지 아니면 타고 남은 척도 될런지 언제나 선택과 결정은 너의 목화가 만복이 두었는 게 이물을지 말기 I see the ashes falling out your window. There's someone in the mirror that you don't know. And everything was all wrong. So burn it till it's all gone.
I hear that.
burn it. I want it.
yeah, burn it. Is that it?
Sheesh.
God damn.
I know it's burning, but that gave me chills.
Burn that subscribe button.
It's fire.
This is fire. Besides the fact I'm really a sucker for the production on here. This sounds like a weekend track. Respectfully, really, no, really, if y'all should know who the weekend is and shit, that ain't like a disrespectful thing to say. But this sounds kind of like yeah, just anything along the tones of that. This was so good. I feel like Max really like
His voice was incredible.
His voice was incredible. Like it just, I like how it sounded too. It was like a little edgy, but still kind of like you obviously still hear like the vocal talent and everything that's in there. But it was some sass. I really kind of,
It was like a sassy acceptance, kind of like I know I'm past you, sort of thing. And there's like a little bit of tone to it, but at the same point, it's like I gotta turn my shoulder to you, which again is kind of, I keep thinking of outro tier, but it really feels like it's tied together in that regard as well.
Yeah, and we always talk about those stages, and this definitely feels like acceptance, almost to the point where it's like, all right, fuck it, like I tried, now burn this shit. Really, it's kind of like the energy that's exuding from like both parties, but you can feel it, and I think you talk about it mostly on like the JK with the Stay Alive track.
Absolutely.
Anytime someone is on the chorus and the vocal tone and the energy is exuding exactly what the context of the song is supposed to be, it kind of doubled down on the message. This was fire. I do not want to be a prisoner in the moment because I'm about to talk crazy. But Suge's, his cadence, dog, was just, hold on, fuck that. Hold on, let me
He was riding his shit.
If you watch out and watch the words of original reduction, start the fire, whatever you do, start the fire. I felt
뭐든 좋으니까 쉽게 그래 불을 붙여 박타오르는 태양이 될런지 아니면은 타고남은 척과 달런지 언제나 선택과 결정은 너의 목화가 만복이 두한 용기 힘을 잃지 말기
see it just falling out the window.
That's incredible.
Someone in the mirror that I don't know. Then just talk about the reflection.
Hey.
So what you gonna do? Then shit with the tip, burn it. You hear that?
Oh yeah, I did.
So burn it till it's all gone.
Teresa!
Yeah, got it.
I assume that had to have been Max, but nonetheless.
But that was Suge. That shit is. He was like, "I need to put you a little bit more." Nah, this is. This a fire ass joint. This is fire.
There's no way around it. You can't even escape the pun. It's just like
burn it fire. Yeah, this is. Hold on, I'm trying to do you right, Suge. Hold on.
Make sure the reflection is.
I got you, Suge. Yeah, because does I have anything else on there? Because this is, I know Dechita, and I think we did Strange off of hearing something else.
Track list. Strange was with RM, right?
Yeah.
That's the track list.
Yeah. Moonlight. Dechita, what you think? Strange. Okay, yeah. So it was quite a few things we didn't do on here, people. Yeah, some nice content. 10 tracks, 32 songs, whatever. And like I said, this was also dropped in 2020 as well. Shit.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah, so it was funny you was talking about the outro tier and like, you know what I mean, everything. So I'm gonna let you get your clip off. But no, this is a perfect song.
Honestly,
it's a perfect song. Damn, I know it's a 2020 joint, which means I know it's probably no live performance or just kind of anything along the lines of that. This would have been. This is something dope to perform live. You know how
like this pairing him and Max too. Like,
yeah, because the in fairness, last time when we did the Max song, I forget what it's called. It's called Blueberry something.
Yeah.
It's called Blueberry something. Like I thought the song was cool. I thought Suge did a great job because I think he did the production on that too. I thought he did a wonderful job.
They
like
used
on
the cat
the
for Suge. Yogi,
yeah, I thought they did an amazing job. I thought the MV was clever and cool. Like I thought it was decent. He had his wife on there and everything as well.
I was gonna say the vowels and the situation behind it and everything.
But and like I said, I don't know enough of Max, so I kind of don't want to put out there like that felt more like a Max song than I guess an August D song. I guess.
I mean, it was also kind of a song, at least seemingly to what everything is represented to his girl. So it was really a song to her, to where it felt like Yoongi would have, both as a friend and as a producer, kind of just want to like
let them cook.
Yeah, like this is something special you're trying to say, and the fact that I have a piece in this song or something in the production,
it's special in
everything.
Itself.
Exactly. So at least that was the type of energy that I was kind of picking up from it. But certainly, if there's more behind the scenes, and certainly how the relationship, kind of culminated, building up to that point and everything. But yeah, this song is just
so.
Geez.
All that to say, bro, like how like obviously RM's been running his movie, Hope was running his movie in the sense, and when I say running their movie, yes, yeah. Exactly, because some people may not know what I mean. When I say running their movie, I mean like right now they both have massive success with their solo albums. They're not so much doing tours, but when they're doing shows, they're able to kind of play a lot of the tracks from their old albums, but they're also able to kind of jump in their old bag and kind of do some things. This definitely feels like
we saw with RM when he did the concert in Seoul.
And we got Persona. Yep. And then, with Hope, whether it was Hobie Palooza, or anything else and shit, we've seen, him do the chicken noodle soup, obviously. They said he did do Ego and we forgot about it or something else on there, but I may be mistaken.
At least if it was for Lala / Hobie Palooza, I don't believe I actually was there for that reaction.
Oh, okay. So if I said that, then that was crazy. But with that being said, this definitely feels like kind of one of those songs where if he drops, his album or another mixtape and stuff, and he wanted to bring anybody out to kind of do like some of those other songs that people know, I definitely can kind of see this being kind of one of those songs.
Oh, for sure.
What I am interested in is that all right, so with Rapline, obviously I think all of them had got at least an album in already. I think technically he has two, D1 and D2. Yeah, as far as mixtapes go, he has two mixtapes. And then obviously RM had RM and then Mono, so he had two. And then Hope had Hope World. And then obviously, we got Jack in the Box and then Indigo. And obviously with both of those artists, with RM and Hope, it was a change as far as like, RM kind of wanting to tell his 20s going into like, his new 30s or whatever, and just kind of basically, just his 20s. And Hope essentially kind of wanting to get into like the dark side of things, but also letting you know that within darkness is always kind of like still hope. Ironically, like in the Pandora's box, everyone talks about all like the negativity and like the bad that comes like, from without the box, but there's also still hope inside of there. It's always a light at the end of the tunnel.
Beautifully represented.
Yeah. And I just wonder, I guess, with Suge and where he's at in life, with the solo album, or if he does another mixtape, are we getting Sugar or are we getting August D?
It would be D3, but I believe it would be almost a culmination of the two, where it's like, because obviously that's the name flipped backwards and everything, which is really cool touch in and of itself. But knowing the kind of stage and anger and everything that this had come from, and certainly even though this was released in 2020, though I can't say exactly specifically when it would have been released in 2020.
I think in May.
Okay, that would make sense a little bit, but basically knowing that this would have been pent up, kind of a lot of anger
May
from
22nd.
around that time. And I believe I misspoke in the when we were talking about the Shuchita thing with the whole. I know he had said he has enough tracks to drop D3 whenever.
Yeah.
But as far as theme and kind of what you want to put together, how you want to tell your progression, if you want to make new songs, or if this theme or thought process no longer applies, or if you want to update it with new lyricism and so on and so forth. The artistic hell essentially that you kind of put yourself through. To fully feel proud like this is 100% it. And I know RM ironically had the Festa thing about putting it out, and just kind of doing it that way, so you can learn and grow and all those things. And there's certainly value in that as well. But I believe, whatever pain and everything was represented in D1/D2 or anything like that, D3 would probably be more of the place of peace and acceptance, I would think. And of course, you're still going to belt out. But mind you, he's gotten much more. He's been using his voice so much more in a singing manner, right? Melodic kind of flows and things of that nature, because he just is all about learning and expanding. We hear him talk about that several times, the Festa, Shachita, or whatever, and just basic interviews when he was learning the dance and everything, like just kind of like things about, just how he seems he seems to have so much of a growth mindset, where he wants to kind of get everything in that he can in his respective 24 hours and, just be better than the person you were yesterday sort of thing. So certainly, and he seems so much more happy. And I know there's a different kind of energy and place of acceptance and possible fear and all those things that you have to come through, reaching the 30th birthday and everything that represents, and serving and, / enlistment and all those things. But mind you, knowing that D2 would have at least been written, at least to the best of my knowledge, or at least a good portion of it, before his surgery, before the pandemic. And I'm sure things were touched up and things of that nature, in respect to his recovery process. But this would be the first project, of him, collectively album / mixtape wise, of him having healed from that. And that was so much of an emotional trauma to him, that it was almost like a I don't want to say like a character defining kind of flaw or anything within himself or anything. And not to say like, flaw in that way, but basically just something that is like a core trauma, that seemed to be infecting him for so long, and how much he had to bottle up everything, to where rage and projection and almost the symbolism of fire itself, your inner fire, your anger, your aggression really felt like it represented. And I've said it previously, ironically, in a much different video, but it was he really gives me at least those eras of Jungi definitely kind of remind me of Zuko in that regard. The whole aspect of fire and kind of coming to that place of overcoming inner turmoil to then have your passion burn in a bright way. Not to say this isn't bright, of course, but just in a way that's not detrimental to you, where it's a double-edged sword. But basically, because how he had said, I forget exactly which song it was. It might have been one of the ciphers, maybe Cypher 2 or something like that. I could be completely off. But where he was like, this is where my inner fire became a leash or something like that. Or he had like a bar that was like that, where it was basically the thing that was once, representing this for me is now something that's restraining me in some way. But just kind of, how, throughout the years, like words like that would kind of be thrown around, lyrics like that would be thrown around. So getting to kind of a place like this and to D3 at large, I imagine it would be a lot more of a place of acceptance and kind of happiness. Not to say you still don't have, your things you're trying to overcome, but just in a larger sense, I feel like it would be more geared in that direction. Or at least by the end of the album, you would think. But nonetheless, just the fact that he has enough songs to drop it whenever. I don't know if we're going to get anything, before enlistment or anything like that, or kind of, what the situation is going to be with that. But definitely, I suppose just to get into my basic spiel of the song itself, I mean, I love everything about this, and this tied so much loose pieces together for me. Certainly, outro tier and everything, and where it's like, because I noticed in the production of that, there was a reverb when he had sang, that aspect where it's like, burn it all, basically. And then I didn't know that reverb was essentially a way to kind of mimic or kind of take you back to what this song would have been, or at least at that time. Actually, hold on. Outro tier would have been first, right?
Tier would have been first.
Okay, so this would have been a reference to that. Okay, that makes sense. But nonetheless, it was just like
I get you though.
A thematic tie-in, and certainly as well to Fire, where it's like this where it's like burning my old self and everything like that. And we know that in the BU and everything, Suge had been someone who's largely associated with the element of fire through things. First love, the fire of the piano and everything. So it's been something that's so thematically tied to him and everything that I just love whenever he kind of gets into that bag, lyrically, where he kind of references some of those things, because it really feels like it ties a lot of those pieces together, or at least correlates them to where they're, they kind of, fit a similar, aspect or theme. But then
that's fire right here.
I love, Max's voice for sure, and everything he was doing on this, his cadence, and again, just the way that he was like singing those notes, but coming at it from a place of, where he's not like necessarily belting, but you're feeling like the pain and almost like the snark, kind of, not to say passive aggressiveness, but for lack of a better term, hearing a lot of those aspects in kind of what he's saying, just what it represents, where he's like, you know, almost like I'm literally on the outside looking into what this person is going through, where it's like I'm literally seeing the smoke, you know, from, you know, that impending fire of whatever's happening in that room, and that's essentially where you're burning, you know, essentially the image of yourself or whatever. I just found that incredibly poetic, in the way, of course, in which he orchestrated that, and they collab to you know, deliver it in that kind of way, as opposed to, like, you know, the other thousand of, you know, kind of tones or whatever they could have chosen to have taken. But yeah, I'd let you jump in.
Yeah, nah, it's just we, you know, I guess tonight have been talking like about a lot of like precursors, or just at this point other things kind of tying into like a lot of stuff that's just going on. There is so much here, like kind of just to unpack, and I'm catching like a lot of parallels on here that would have you go back to songs like Outro, that would go back to kind of songs like Shadow and other songs. And I think we talked about Reflection like already and stuff too, to where not so much some of the things are kind of like a reoccurring theme, but it seems like just kind of like, I don't want to call them minimal ideas that seem like they're kind of like just run on ideas as well, where it's just like, oh, okay, I kind of touched on this on one song, I'm touching on it again but in a different facet, so I can drop light nods to the other songs that I kind of was already like talking about said songs, you know what I mean, like about. So like I find that very like just decent. The song just has like a certain energy, and it just has like that vibe of you know how you get those songs where it's almost just I don't want to say like fuck the social norms, or kind of like fuck certain things that's going on, but I do feel like just that energy of just like I'm trying to find a good way to word this. It's almost just like if you tried and it's not working out and shit, then fuck it, almost like just burn it down. You know what I mean? I feel like they got the pitchforks and the fire out. But yeah, no, that's kind of where I'm at with this. This is super decent. You can jump back in.
No, definitely. And certainly other kind of thematic elements to tie to that fire, you know, blazing sun, things of that nature as well. But basically, in relation to what you were saying, I don't want to say it's necessarily like scorched earth theory kind of aspect, where it's like, you know, that whole, not to say like even a villain aspect, but where it's just like, you know, for there to be any kind of rebirth, you have to essentially burn everything down and kind of just start from scratch.
Like
basically,
a phoenix.
Huh?
Like a phoenix.
Hey, redemption. But basically kind of tying, you know, those aspects into where it's like, you know, whatever thing this is, it's almost a hauntingness, but it's also a defense mechanism, which is ultimately another thing I really love about this, where it's like, like in me wanting to burn this down, it's almost like it's almost better to erase someone in some way from your mind than to process the pain of kind of either you messed up, they messed up, the situation messed up, or just kind of, you know, whatever that is, whether it's love or whether it's, you know, internal grief or whatever the case may be. It's a lot of people, you know, kind of almost have to bury, you know, even if it's outside of relationships, just traumas in general, to where it's almost like the metaphor of just wanting to burn it from your mind is something that may seem easier than coming to a place of acceptance. And the way you might feel in regards to a specific situation, using that metaphor, if you're, you know, in Suge's, you know, shoes, of course, you might feel different about that during this era than this era than this era, or, you know. So I kind of like those motifs in the sense of like, you know, and they always say in storytelling, I mean, you know, granted it's, you know, metaphor, so take it with a grain of salt, but any bit of repetition is always something that's thematically, symbolically, you know, kind of important, which is why the hook is often the theme, because it's the most repeated part, so it kind of ties into those things. But when you kind of talk about elements of fire and burning and you know, almost a rebirth or rage and anger, and you kind of tie all those elements in, you know, how do you assess that theme of fire? Do you assess it as something that's, you know, your inner fire, your passion? Do you assess it as, you know, your rage, your grief, your guilt, whatever, to where you're projecting? Or do you sense it as almost like a cleanse, like an adverse cleanse to water in a sense, where it's like, again, like scorched earth kind of theory? And it's just a way in which you assess it in regards to different situations, and seeing, what we know of BTS and Suge particularly in his journey in relation to that. So kind of just seeing where they're at with, things like that, and how those themes progress, or, whether they get better, get worse, or, wrestling with those kind of themes and concepts again. Because it's all about, that self-reflection, not recognizing the person in the mirror, starting with yourself, to where it's easier to kind of burn, these aspects instead of just again, that defense mechanism aspect where it's like, instead of just processing it, it's almost perhaps easier to want to start over, to protect yourself in a lot of ways as well, which is ironic, because the whole, burning your former self. So essentially, the me that's gotten me up to this point is no longer going to serve the purpose I want to represent in my future, to where it's easier just to almost erase that aspect of it, and want to start over. So there's just so much to be unpacked lyrically, and kind of the pain and everything that's represented here. This makes me incredibly curious for everything that D2 is going to represent, and certainly the stepping off points in which D3 would kind of pick back up as well. Definitely love the camaraderie and the chemistry of everything that we're seeing from him and Max. I think they paired incredibly beautiful on this track. The production, I mean, the flow switches and everything, the aggression in what you're hearing, it really honestly just hit for me on all levels. It's definitely, a strong download for me.
Yeah. Also, too, I wanted to, I guess, highlight how at least like kind of how I'm interpreting some of this too is almost like he's making it, how can I word this? Almost, I guess, letting anybody listening to the message of like kind of like burning your old self, letting them know that sometimes it also takes courage kind of to do that. Yeah. Where, some people might think of, I guess, like burning yourself or quitting or something like that actually could take courage to kind of just do something along the lines of that. So I think like that message is like unique. And also with some of the message too, I'm not sure if it's like a bad thing as far as burning yourself, because sometimes it makes it seem like it was on a type time as burning yourself to kind of like brighten your star, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's
even with respect to like that, in reference to like any kind of campfires or anything, like even if you're talking human discovery and discovering fire, so on and so forth, what it represented, so there's such a beauty to fire and what it can represent as well. But specifically with in regards to your passion and not like burning out or fizzling out, it's almost a sense of reigniting your flame by burning yourself. So artistically, that can represent something very inspiring as well. And I like that you brought up the point of courage that it may take to do that as well.
Yeah, because even something like that to me, like I see the ashes falling out your window, like you said, that could easily be taken as like I see the passion and desire not there anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like you're fizzling out, like you just said. There's someone in the mirror that you don't know.
Starting or fizzling out. No smoke, no fire.
Yeah, so it's just like, and I think ironically when me and Kurt are here and we're talking, always talking about this stuff, there's so many kind of either double entendres or so many kind of word plays on here. And like I said, me and Kurt, when we do this, you guys are getting our raw reaction. So we don't, have enough time to either kind of look up certain things. And sometimes we don't know the backstory. But just contextually reading like the lyrics, I love how it's kind of so many different ways you kind of can go about interpreting everything. Yeah. Like I said, just even something there where it's just like, oh, okay, this is a bar and shit. And then like we can interpret this 5 or 6 different ways. And I still feel like all of it hits. It's not something where it's just like your point was completely wrong or not valid. It's just you interpreted it however you did. And it's interesting.
No, absolutely. And that's something that's so beautiful about art and music, particularly in general, is the subjectivity of it and kind of what one is able to read into it. And even, how RMN talked about that on the album, going to art galleries, and it's like, the same you that's 12 and sees a particular piece of art might not pick up on something that the you at 20 or 25 or 29, 30, 60 would pick up on. Mm-hmm. Nothing about the art changes, but you change, and you're able to read and see something different in that sense where it holds a mirror up to you. and you're able to reflect on that and see something within yourself, within that art. And there's something so beautiful about that. And I think that's why kind of art will really never go away in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so inherent to kind of the human condition, at least to me. And therapeutic in a lot of ways. It almost answers questions you didn't know you need answers to, or thought to ask even, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
But just with regards to, you know, that and the duality almost in which you could kind of take that message. I also like that in terms of the first Love video, where it's like, you know, you saw the piano burn, but remember, you know, Jungi had said specifically that there was a time he walked away from the piano, and that almost when he came back to it and he felt like, oh wow, it used to be so big, because I was so small, and now it just feels almost, not to say insignificant, but this thing that represented this larger than life thing to me. I'm looking at it for what it is, and of course you're appreciating it, but almost that guilt at the same point where it's like, I was away from you for so long, I'm seeing the dust on it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But then you saw, you know, the film video version of it or whatever, where it was on fire, and it's like, and it's like, I always thought that was like the burning of like kind of that moment, or what that burning was when he walked away from it. Mm-hmm. But almost even if it was the burn, like just, you know, now thinking about it, if it was the burn of him coming back to it, where it's like that reignited my flame,
Mm-hmm.
In that sense, as you would say, is it something that's igniting you in a new way, to where it's like a fire burning passion kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
or if it's something that's like, I have to erase this, so I have to burn it. So I like the subjectivity and kind of how those things are able to be interpreted, and certainly with respect to the other tracks on the album, and
Mm-hmm.
what else it could represent even beyond just those things. So I just love the deep-rooted symbolism within all this as well.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in, because even when you just think about how decent and everything that's going on with Dechita, and then this, those are like 2 tracks on there. And like I said, I definitely remember, I think we did Strange, and I remember that being a banger too. So it's
the duality too, with the blonde hair Jungi with the scar,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, the August D persona, ironically, and then, you know, Suge,
Mm-hmm.
or perhaps Jungi, depending on how you look at it, of course. But nonetheless, I mean, that whole character is duality represented itself.
what if
You know,
August D was burning up Suge so he can brighten up Sugar's passion and love for everything again? It's like, nah.
or vice versa.
Or vice versa.
It's like, you got it, because remember, he kills him at the end of Dechita, remember? The gun and everything. So where it's like, even I got to burn this evil persona within myself, or that persona within me that wants, you know, the greed and all these other kind of things that are represented in that song. So yeah, the way all this you know, ties into that, or the temptation aspects, ironically, that could be conveyed in that as well. It's just incredibly deep rooted and really symbolic.
He does the duality thing a lot then.
Yeah.
Because like I said, we
Give It to Me
just was talking about Give It
August
to
D
Me.
itself.
Yeah, like you having a whole, obviously another persona.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, you know, the duality. We keep talking about the whole reflection thing.
It's literally your
shadow.
name. The thing is too that I like about that is it's literally his name backwards,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the thing that is so important about that is the whole idea of reflection in yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, like, let's just say you write something on paper and hold it up to a mirror, it's going to be backwards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that whole August D, it's literally the me looking in the mirror, to where all the dimensions and things flip. So you have the name flip. So I just think that's like a perfect representation of, you know, the mirror self, essentially, the shadow self, if you will, which of course, you know, another deep song of him. So it's just, I'm just really loving all this. I would love to hear him, you know, either have interviews or talk about this, or kind of, you know, get into deeper things, as he did kind of with Sachita or whatever. But just, you know, there's just so much art here to appreciate, you know.
And that's why we have you beautiful redeemers.
Absolutely.
Y'all seen this banging ass conversation y'all just got with me and Kurt. Definitely hit that subscribe button to make sure y'all stay here and become a redeemer. If y'all love content like this, jump on the Patreon. We're going to be getting into a lot of stuff like that this month. Like I said, the Mama 2020 version is already up on there. We're going to be doing a lot for Suge in March, and be able to kind of dive and get into all the albums and stuff that we didn't. Live performances. Definitely. And it's a plethora of songs that he produced that we never even touched yet, because you know this nigga got like 1,000 producer credits and writing credits for everyone too. So it's a lot of like content that he's put his hands on that we haven't even dove into yet. So we're gonna get a very good understanding of everything Yu-Gi related, some in this month and some next month. But yeah, yo, this was interesting. I love these type of conversations. Jump in, give us more information. We love y'all, Army. We're gonna holla at y'all.
Take care.
Peace.